Justin Trudeau apologized again on Thursday after two images of himself in blackface were revealed, a day after he initially apologized for an uncovered photo of himself partying in brownface. Alexandria, which lies on the Mediterranean coast in northern Egypt, could sink in the sea in a few years because of global warming if no countermeasure is adopted, experts have warned. The 2019 Rugby World Cup is happening in Japan from 20th September to 2nd November. This will be the first time the tournament is to be held in Asia and outside the traditional heartland of rugby union. That's all for our top stories today. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast.
Trudeau said he never told his campaign staff about the photos before they came out because it was really embarrassing. On Wednesday, Trudeau apologized for the first photo, which showed him dressed as a character from Aladdin in brown makeup and a turban at an Arabian Nights themed gala in 2001 when he was 29. In the video, Trudeau appears in dark face makeup, raising his hands in the air and sticking his tongue out. A Liberal Party spokesperson confirmed to BuzzFeed News that Trudeau is the man in the video taken in the early 90s. Trudeau has previously been criticized for donning costumes that some have accused of bordering on cultural appropriation, such as traditional Indian garb he and his family wore during an official visit in 2018.
Alexandria overlooks the Mediterranean Sea. For centuries, its vast coastlines have made it a destination for trade and tourism. The higher temperatures would eat out its coastline, and if no action is taken, a big part of Alexandria could disappear by 2050, according to the experts.
The defrosting of ice in the North Pole because of the higher temperatures leads to rise in water levels, which is dangerous for cities that are lower than the sea level. The most affected country by this problem that is able to confront it with some work is the Netherlands.
The situation has been a worrying aspect for its residents.
The delta in Alexandria, they say, will sink in 30 or 50 years. We should all play a part in avoiding this by being environmentally aware. We should use clean energy and factories should install filters. We should begin with ourselves because the human pollutes the environment. We have renewable energy in Egypt, as well as teaching environment in the new school curriculum, and preserving the environment for next generation will prevent us from moving people out of Alexandria.
The government has already moved to avoid such a daunting situation.
The state is working hard in this field, which is to confront the sea level rise, especially the Beach Protection Authority, which is working strongly. So we note that we have not heard about the disappearance of Alexandria.
What matters more is that the international community should move collectively to stop global warming before it's too late.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said urgent action is needed to tackle gender-based violence in the country. At an emergency sitting of Parliament, Mr. Ramaphosa said the figures for violence against women and children were similar to those of a country at war.
Women are dying with protection orders in their homes, and we therefore need to pay attention to all this. Modernizing the criminal justice system is critical if we want to see real progress in the fight against gender-based violence. Because we are still using outdated technology and practices, we have problems with victim statements not being recorded accurately, or even vanishing. Dockets just disappear and so forth, and the perpetrators go loose.
Some 2,700 women and 1,000 children were murdered by men last year, and at least 100 rapes were reported daily. The spike in violence against women has ignited protest in many areas.
The time comes in the life of a nation where there remains two choices: to submit or to fight. We are not a nation that submits. We have come too far to surrender to intolerance, to misogyny, and to violence. That we have come together here today, united by our determination to overcome this problem, shows the strength of our resolve.
Mr. Ramaphosa pledged $75 million for measures including public education, strengthening the criminal justice system, increasing sentences for perpetrators of sexual offenses, and providing better care for victims. The plan also includes measures to improve women's economic power.
These are difficult issues to deal with, but at the same time, it is when it is difficult that all of us as leaders must get our people to engage in those debates. So let us work together so that our people may experience the best of times.
Earlier this week, South Africa apologized to Nigerian after Nigerian-owned shops and businesses were targeted by the mobs. Mr. Ramaphosa's message to lawmakers come a day after a dialogue on femicide and the killing of people with albinism in the country's Eastern Cape province.
Juggling between school demonstrations and speeches in the capitals of the region to call for saving the planet, Leah Namugerwa is one of those young people inspired by the now famous Swedish environmental activist Greta Thunberg, 16 years old. If adults are now ready to take the initiative, I and other children will show them the way. Why should I just watch while environmental injustices are unfolding before my eyes? Said Leah last week in Kigali, where her speech on the climate emergency earned her a standing ovation. Back in Kampala, she says the Ugandan government's inaction on Greta Thunberg's environmental issues and sit-ins in front of the Swedish parliament has prompted her to hold weekly strikes at her school. Leah is part of the Fridays for Future Youth movement initiated by Greta Thunberg, who this week received the Amnesty International's Ambassadors of Conscience Award. The girl is behind a campaign to urge the city of Kampala to ban the use of plastic bags and to warn of the risks of deforestation and prolonged drought and floods attributed to climate change. Originally from Mukono district in the central region, whose forests have been decimated in recent decades due to the expansion of the neighboring Ugandan capital, she organized her first environmental protest on a Friday in February this year in a suburb of Kampala. Now a group of young people join her every Friday, missing a school day, to strike. The 2019 Rugby World Cup kicked off today in Japan, with 20 international teams competing for the trophy. The stakes are high for the host facing Russia in their opening game in Tokyo, and should also be prepared to take on Scotland, Wales, Ireland and Samoa in Pool A. I think this will be Japan's best World Cup, said the host captain Michael H. The World Rugby Association took a gamble a decade ago when it awarded the 2019 event to Japan, whose long association with the sport has never been matched by its achievements in the international arena. The megastore in Tokyo's Shinjuku district is doing a brisk business in official merchandise. After years of struggling to emerge from the shadow of the last summer's Tokyo Olympics, the World Cup has finally penetrated the public consciousness. Almost all of the 1.8 million tickets have been sold, with the organizing committee president Fujio Mitare confidently predicting that all 48 games will be played in packed stadiums. Justin Trudeau apologized again on Thursday after two images of himself in blackface were revealed, a day after he initially apologized for an uncovered photo of himself partying in brownface. Alexandria, which lies on the Mediterranean coast in northern Egypt, could sink in the sea in a few years because of global warming if no countermeasure is adopted, experts have warned. The 2019 Rugby World Cup is happening in Japan from 20th September to 2nd November. This will be the first time the tournament is to be held in Asia and outside the traditional heartland of rugby union. That's the end of our newscast of the day, but keep watching Gabon 24 for further news.